do a quick review. I always say that, but it ends up being longer than I anticipated it being. But for this game, it's very good, so I don't expect it to be too long. So this is Zelda Oracle of Ages, and this game is fantastic. So I already reviewed Link's Awakening DX, and I reviewed, what is it called? Oracle of Seasons, right? And they're all fantastic. But honestly, I gotta say, this game is probably my favorite out of the 3 Game Boy Color games. It's kind of slight. I mean, the reasons why it's my favorite are actually kind of small. But I like the graphical presentation of this game a little bit more. I like the color palette. Oracle of Seasons, it was colorful, but some of the seasons I didn't like the color palettes of, like winter. It was very bland. Even autumn didn't look all that great. Also, I like how you only have 2 worlds to deal with, whereas in Oracle of Seasons you have 4, which makes it a little complicated. So basically what I mean is, so you have this overmap here, right? Big overmap. And we're in the past, and you can travel through time and go back to the present. And when you travel back and forth, you basically get like a whole second set. Whole different level design, similar but different. And it changes the level design. You can access places that you previously couldn't. And that's part of the puzzle solving. Right? In Oracle of Seasons, though, you have 4 basically. And so you get basically 4 different color palettes, which is cool for every single world tile. But it can make puzzle solving that much more obtuse and complicated. Because you have to, if you're stuck somewhere, you might end up, having to switch between all 4 seasons just to find the right season so that you can open up a path to go to where you're going. Like, for example, for me, I'm trying to get to this black tile over here. In Oracle of Seasons, I would have to deal with 4 of those, whereas in this one, I only have to deal with 2 different worlds. So it simplifies it a little bit more and makes it a little bit less obtuse. Now, people often describe this game as being the more puzzle-oriented of the 2 Zelda Game Boy Color games. Now, I did get a lot of help in playing this game, so luckily that helped facilitate some of the more challenging puzzles, but for the most part, I didn't actually think that the game was any more obtuse than Oracle of Ages or Link's Awakening, for that matter. So it didn't frustrate me, really. If anything, its obtuseness was about equal. So not really a big deal. No real big frustration for me. Now, one of the cool things about this game and Oracle of Seasons is that they could have easily made them basically carbon copies of each other, just like Pokemon Red and Blue. Pokemon Red and Blue are the same game. The only differences are the Pokemon that you collect. They could have easily done that with this game, and in fact, I thought that maybe it was going to be like that originally, before I played it. It's not. They're 2 totally different games. Of course, they share graphical assets, but they are still different games with different overworlds, different puzzles, different dungeons, everything. It's a different game. It's not the same game. And that's awesome. I'm so glad that it's like that. One of the other cool things is that you can use a password system between the 2 games to, after you beat one game, then you can use a password to make the other game a little bit easier. So that's really cool. I like that a lot. You can get some new items. So one of the other cool things about the two games is that even though they are similar games, they still have unique items. And really, it's the items that make the game. And make the game feel fresh and new, despite the fact that they're still so similar to each other. And of course, this game doesn't disappoint. So you get, in terms of new items, you get the long hook, which was previously called the switch hook, which is kind of like the long shot, but it's different enough to make it unique. And you also get the seed shooter, which is kind of like the boomerang, kind of like the bow or the slingshot, except it's more like a gun this time. And you shoot all these different kinds of things. So in the previous game, I believe you had the slingshot. In this game, you got the seed shooter, and the only real difference is that the thing bounces. Now, this can be kind of frustrating when you're trying to kill enemies at a distance because it'll be bouncing around, and you can't shoot another one until the projectile disappears. See, I tried to shoot another one, and I couldn't do it until the projectile disappeared. So that can make it less useful as a weapon, but it's still cool that you can ricochet it. I like the novelty. I like how it's not just, another slingshot or bow. They managed to make it more unique. And the switch hook is different from the long shot or the hook shot in that you actually switch places with the thing that you're switch hooking to. So that's pretty cool. So with that said, oh, and also you get the Harp of Ages. So this is kind of like the equivalent of the wand from Oracle of Seasons. This just lets you travel between the two different times. Just like that. Overall, though, unfortunately, the variety of the items... I mean, it's nice that they have new items, and that's what helps make it unique and stuff like that, but neither the switch hook nor the seed shooter are really that good. I mean, they're okay, but you won't find any really awesome items like the cape from Oracle of Seasons. It's kind of hard for me to figure out what's my favorite item. So, not quite as good as the items from Oracle of Seasons, but still different enough and neat enough that that I'm glad that they're different. So that's okay, yeah. So the other thing is in terms of criticism, I do want to criticize the dungeons a little bit. Now the dungeons are overall pretty cool. They're pretty good. But Dungeon 7 is awful. Dungeon 7 is basically a carbon. It's basically the 2D version of the Water Temple from Ocarina of Time. You're in Jabu Jabu's belly, and I get it. They were trying to do an homage to Water Temple from Ocarina of Time, but it is just as awful as that was. I hated it so much. You have to change the water levels. There's a lot of back and forth if you accidentally didn't change the water level, or you need to change the water level. There's a lot of backtracking to do that, trial and error, and it is so long and obtuse, just like the Water Temple was in Ocarina of Time, and I hated it. But in all fairness, every single Zelda game has at least one dungeon that sucks. One of the greatest Zelda games of all time, like I mentioned, Ocarina of Time, still has the Water Temple, so I can't begrudge it that much. That's kind of par for the course when it comes to these kinds of games. But yeah, other than that, it is still the same great 2D Zelda experience. I love the graphics. I love the gameplay. You have a whole world to explore. It's amazing that they were able to jam pack so much into a tiny 8-bit cartridge, especially with 2 whole worlds. You know, all the same criticisms I had about the previous games apply here, other than to say that, yeah, on the whole, I really do think that this is the best of the 3. Some people like Link's Awakening the best. I would say most people I talked to said that. And Link's Awakening is great. But yeah, I think on the whole, I think I prefer this one the most. But, you know, you should play all of them. Yeah, like ranking them compared to the other Zelda games, I put these above Zelda 1. I think Zelda 1's still great, but these games are definitely better. They're fantastic. And that's pretty much all I have to say.